Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In the previous video of this, we ended up putting the heads on, torquing them down, and we went through, waited a couple days, retorqued, waited a couple days, retorqued, made sure that we had this set up so that those nuts did not move anymore. So, we didn't get any more quarter turns, eighth turns, nothing. They stayed right at the 210 foot-pounds. Now, since we've got this all installed, we have to finish putting on our oil rails. Now, we did a previous video about doing the nipple cups, and we have the new nipple cups installed in the rail here. And we have those installed. Those are all cleaned up, ready to go back on. We have new standpipes and dummy plugs, which came from Diesel Site. So we have to install our actual standpipes first, and then we can go ahead and install our oil rail and torque it down to spec. Now, once we do that, we can go ahead and get this thing finally sealed up and hopefully get this plastic off of it. So I'm going to go ahead and get our standpipes installed here, and then also go ahead and get our oil rail installed. We're going to do both sides today and get this all buttoned up and hopefully get this thing all sealed back up. The one thing I'm going to tell you to do here is make sure you put a little bit of lubricant, whether it be oil or whatever you choose, on each injector here where those nipple cups slide in. So make sure that you get an adequate lubrication there. Make sure that they slide in nice and easy. You don't want to have any burrs, metal on metal contact without any lubrication on there, so that you make sure that you have a nice good fit and you're not going to be misaligning or putting any kind of undue stress on anything, because this is very important for these nipple cups to get put into the injectors properly. So we're going to go ahead and start with getting our standpipe put in. We've previously installed the dummy plugs and the standpipe into the rail, which was in the nipple cup video as well. It's a lot easier to do those in the vise. Make sure you get them torqued properly. You're not putting undue stress on the rail itself or anything like that, because these boxes are just aluminum. So, we just want to make sure that we're torquing that a lot easier. So we did that in the nipple cup video if you're looking for those torque specs and installation tips. So we're going to go ahead and get started on this. Just going to apply a little bit of oil to these cups here. Let them soak a little bit there. Now we're going to open up our standpipe set here. Now we have the dummy plugs and standpipes already installed. Now we need to get the lower standpipe installed. So when you pull it out of the bag, it'll look like this. We have the double O-ring here, and we need to use the grease that they supply, which I put back in this bag. Adequate amount of grease here. It's not going to hurt to have too much on here. So this is the rear of the engine. So you can actually slide this down in here. It goes in there pretty far. And then it will push itself in once we push the oil rail on. So we have lubricated the actual top of the rail here, but we're going to add a little bit of that lubrication to the top of the bottom, the top of the bottom. There we go. So now we have our oil rail here, and everything's been lubricated. We greased up the top side of the standpipe here, and we should be able to press this down in here without an issue. So you want to make sure that you get lined up with the standpipe. And then also the nipple cups here. And just like that, everything's installed. Now, we lubricated the standpipe heavily, we did the top heavily, and then we did the lower side of the top end of the standpipe, all well lubricated. So that way when it slides together, it goes together nice and easy. Did not take much force at all. This is the driver's side head, so there's no ICP sensor here. So you want to make sure you use the correct rail. And now we can go ahead and install our bolts here. So we're going to be installing the T30 bolts. Inside here, there is a torque spec and there is a torque sequence. So we have all of our bolts here. We're just going to get them started in and get them snugged down. And once they're all snugged down, we can go ahead and torque them to the popper spec of 10 to 12 foot-pounds. So these aren't even remotely close to being tight, but our sequence goes basically in a circle pattern. So we would be doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we're just going to snug these down in that sequence for right now. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So now that we've snugged these down, we're going to go ahead and torque these. So we're going to do 12 foot-pounds. Spec is 10 to 12. So we've torqued these all down to 12 foot-pounds. Now our next step is I'm going to go over them one more time, and then we're going to go ahead and do the other side. Now, I know I showed you this side further away to kind of give you the idea of how to get these put in. So the next one I'll show you close up, and you'll see how these go on a little bit better. So we've got our standpipe lubricated very well here. And then you can lubricate the top side of it here, just a little extra security. Just get a little bit on the edges there so that that O-ring has something to lubricate into that hole. So this guy, so we have the back of our engine this way, down in the hole. Like I said, it's pretty far down there. but you'll feel it go down in. So when you're putting your standpipes in, we have the rear cover off of here, so it's a lot easier to see. You can see the branch tube runs up there, and you can see that the standpipe actually is seated inside the branch tube. It's really hard to see. The push rod's kind of masking everything here. However, right in the back there, you can follow the branch tube back and see that the standpipe is actually installed. Now you can do this on both sides to make sure that they are actually seated. So that's just something else that you can check on when you're doing your standpipes outside of the engine bay with the engine on a stand. So that's something else that you can do when you're worried about lining up your standpipes. So we have our upper of the standpipe well lubricated. We also have our nipple cups lubricated. We're going to put this guy on here. So the first thing we want to do is align the standpipe tube up, and then push it together a little bit there, and then you want to align the nipple cups up as best you can. Apply a little bit of pressure. And that's all that is required to do this. So you can see that we are seated in all of the injectors properly, and we're also seated down onto the rocker box. And our standpipe was seated because once it goes all together, it's all seated together. It can't come up or down. It's a machined length that is the proper length. So if this is all seated properly down onto the rocker box, you will have no issues as long as you lubricated and made sure that you were lined up properly and not going in at a horrible angle. So we're going to go ahead and torque these now. Now, as you can see, I moved a smidge to get these bolts to line up a lot better. So there is a little bit of wiggle room with getting this thing seated down in here, but you shouldn't be having to move this much at all. That little bit of movement that I made was very, very little and will not hurt a thing. So we have these started in here. So what we're going to do now is just wind them down in. One thing I did not mention before installing this was make sure that all of your holes for these oil rails are clean. We obviously cleaned these rocker boxes very well before we put them back on. But if you're doing this in a vehicle or in a truck, van, whatever, you want to make sure that these holes are clean because they can give you an incorrect torque value if they're not. So we got these all torqued. Once again, double check. So we've gotten these all double checked. They're torqued down. So the oil rails are finally installed. So the one thing that we can do here, now this is something that a lot of people will overlook. This is something coming from my 7.3 roots here. is this little plug here on the top of this rail. Now this plug you can remove and fill this oil rail with oil. We will be doing that. Now we won't be doing it today because I'm not ready to put oil in this. However, if you remove this plug, fill this rail with oil, this will significantly reduce your starting time. So just like on the 7.3s where you fill the oil rail on the top here, you can fill this oil rail, and this oil rail I would assume holds somewhere in the neighborhood of 1 to 2 quarts. I do not know how much this actually holds. However, you can remove this plug here, fill this with oil. Now you have to be careful filling this up because you have no way to release the air. So you have to put it in slowly and let air escape. So once this oil rail is full, it will fill up the injectors, it will fill up this rail, it'll fill up down into the standpipes, down into the high pressure oil pump if it comes up high enough. So filling this up is ideal. So this is a little trick that a lot of people know about but don't want to do. So short video on how to put these rails on. A lot of guys, this is very common knowledge to them. They do this every day on these 6-liter trucks. But for your typical do-it-yourself or somebody that's not very well versed with these torque specs will help. These little tricks can help. The diesel site standpipes seem to go together very nicely. I did not have to force them very hard at all to put them together. They're supposed to be currently the best on the market. Hopefully they are, because I don't want to do this again. However, filling this oil rail with oil will significantly reduce your startup time. So like I said, we're not going to be doing that today because we still have to do a lot more stuff to this engine and get everything put back on. We got to put the front cover on. We have to get the IPR oil relocator kit installed. We have a lot more to do. So I'm not looking to add oil into this engine quite yet. So there's an oil rail plug here, same one on the other side. So if you are looking to reduce your startup time, reduce your starter fatigue, reduce your battery fatigue, fill these oil rails up. They will make your life a little bit easier. Now you are working on a 6-liter, so you're asking for punishment. However, let's try to reduce it, right? So hopefully this will help you guys out in working on your 6-liter. So thanks for watching, guys, and we'll catch you on the next one.